Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with the YGOPro profile for the Aromage Advantage deck. I'll just go through everything in here, and then I'll explain how it works. So for monsters, we're playing 1 Aromage Bergamot, 3 Cactus Bouncer, 3 Aromage Rosemary, 3 Druggetto, 2 Evil Swarm Mandragora, 1 Aromage Kanaga, 3 Lone Fire Blossom, 3 Aromage Jasmine, and 3 Aroma Seraphy Angelica. For our spells, we're playing 3 Terraforming and 3 Aroma Garden. Our traps, 3 Heavy Storm Duster, 3 Dried Winds, 3 Humid Winds, and 3 Shutline. Our extra deck consists of 1 Black Rose Dragon, 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, 1 Cataster, 1 Speedroid Thing, 2 Aroma Seraphy Rosemary, 1 Old Entity Hastur, 1 Armory Arm, 1 Mistbird Colossalus, 1 Tatsunoko, Utopia the Lightning, Utopia, Ragnazero, Tornado Dragon, and Castell. The side deck I'll go over a little later. So the Aromage, if you don't know, are all about gaining life points. All the Aromage monsters have 2 effects. They have one effect that is a trigger effect. When you gain life points, something happens. And the other one is a continuous effect. That's as long as your life points are higher than your opponent, then you get some kind of effect. There's 2 specific cards in here that really help you gain a bunch of advantage, which is the whole point of this deck. Aromage Jasmine, which is when you gain life points once per turn, you can draw a card. And the Dried Winds, which is a continuous trap, and it's if you gain life points, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It has an additional effect, but I'll get to it in a moment. The point is, you're basically going to try to get this on the field and this on the field as fast as you can, and then you're just going to gain life points. And every turn you'll be destroying one monster and drawing one card, and hopefully you'll just be able to out-resource your opponent. So we have 4 cards in this deck that help you gain life points. Probably the most important is Aroma Garden. This is once per turn. If you control a Aromage monster, you can gain 500 life points. Also, all monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn, even if this card leaves the field. And if a face-up Aroma monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, gain 1,000 life points. Really useful field spell. That's why we're playing the 3 Terraforming. If you can get this and Jasmine on the first turn, you're usually pretty set. The second option you'll be using the most is Humid Winds. This is another continuous trap. It has 2 effects. The first, you could pay 1,000 life points to add 1 Aroma monster from your deck to your hand, which sort of helps with the advantage because it's a trap. You can use it during your opponent's turn and your turn, so you're getting 2 searches in addition to your draws and your destructions. Its second effect is if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain 500 life points. That second effect's particularly good at the start of the duel. You'll start with 8,000, and then as soon as your opponent's turn starts, activate this, pay 1,000, get your search, and then your life points will be lower than your opponent's, so you can then gain 500 to either draw a card or activate any of your other effects. Life point gain option number 3 is this Aroma Seraphy Angelica. It's kind of a hand trap. During either player's turn, you can discard this card, target 1 Aroma monster in your graveyard, and gain life points equal to that target's attack. It takes a little bit of graveyard setup, obviously, but if you can get like one of these or even this guy into the graveyard, you're gaining 1,800 or 2,400. Pretty nice. Even if you can just get 1 Jasmine, just because you can use this during either player's turn, you can use it to trigger your Dried Winds whenever you need to. In addition, this card has the effect that if it's in the graveyard and your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can special summon it from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. And this is a tuner, which is how you go into all your extra deck monsters. We're pretty much just playing a toolbox because we've got level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, and this one level 6, and this is a level 1 tuner. So you just add whatever. The only thing I'd really recommend playing is the Aromage Synchro, which I'll get into in a moment when I go over the rest of the Aromages. While I'm talking about life point gain, our 4th and final option, Druggetto. During either player's battle step, you can special summon this from your hand. If you do, gain 1,000 life points. And you can also, during either player's turn, tribute this card to target a face-up monster, and it gains 1,000 attack. Not the best option, but obviously if they go into the battle phase, they think you're safe, you summon this, it activates Dried Winds, or activates one of your other effects. You could stop your opponent, plus give your monsters that extra attack boost they need to survive into another turn. It's also a level 4, so you can always go into your own battle phase, summon it, and then in main phase 2, use it to make some of your rank 4s, which are the only Ixies we play. So like I said, we're mostly using those 4 cards to trigger Jasmine and to trigger Dried Winds, but these other ones have effects as well. Rosemary's effect is once per turn, when you gain life points, target 1 face-up monster on the field and change its battle position. So pretty decent, especially with Druggetto. They go to attack, and then you can shift them into defense mode when this is summoned, or just switch their highest attack point monster, and then give a Rosemary that extra 1,000 attack to put it to 2,800. The only unfortunate thing about this, and really about all the Aromage monsters in general, is that all their trigger effects are mandatory. So if you just have this and then you activate Aroma Garden, it's the only monster on the field, you have to change it to defense mode, which kind of sucks. Usually it's better to attack first and then gain that 500 in the main phase too. Now, we play this one at 3 just because it's level 4. At 1800, it's a pretty good beat stick, and that effect of changing the battle positions is actually pretty good against most decks. These other two are more situational. Kanaga is when you gain life points, you can target a spell trap your opponent controls and return it to the hand, which can be useful in some decks, but most of the time it's not really all that great. It's continuous, as while your life points are higher than your opponent, all monsters they control lose 500 attack and defense, which is pretty much the only reason I keep it in here. When you've already got things sort of going into your favor, you can search this with Humid Winds, lower their attack even more, and then that combined with like the 500 boost from Aroma Garden, the 1000 from Juraghetto, you can actually put some pretty heavy damage on board. Our final one, Bergama, is when your life points are higher than your opponent's, plant monsters do piercing damage, and if you gain life points, this gains 1000 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's turn, which can actually put this up to a pretty high beat stick. Again, you get the Aroma Garden giving it 500, you get its own giving it its 1000, and it's way up past 3000, and it does piercing, assuming your life points are higher than your opponent's. We only played it 1 because it's a tribute monster, it's level 6, but you get 2 normal summons with Jasmine. I don't think I mentioned that actually. In addition to drawing a card, if your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can normal summon a plant monster in addition to your normal summon. So if you've got this, you've got him, you can actually normal summon it in 1 turn just by normal summoning any of these and then tributing over it. You can also normal summon Lone Fire. This is once per turn. You can tribute 1 plant monster, including itself, to special summon another plant monster from your deck. All the Aromages are plant monsters, so if you get this, you can basically get your 1 Bergamot out of the deck and then use it to attack for massive damage. Same thing, you can get your Candina, you can get your Jasmine. This just searches everything, pretty much. Our final Aromage card, the Synchro, 2000 attack. When your life points are higher than your opponent's, all plant monsters gain 500 attack and defense, so again, just adding on even more attack bonuses. And once per turn, if you gain life points, target a face-up card your opponent controls. That card has its effects negated until the end of the turn. So that negates monsters as well as like any continuous spell traps they may have. Pretty decent, and it actually gets up to like 3000 with its own effect plus Aroma Garden. You could get even more with Juraghetto and stuff. So it's actually pretty decent. That's why I'd recommend playing it at 2. Plus, if it goes into the graveyard, you could target it with Angelica, gain 2,000 life points, which is not bad at all. The only other monsters we have in here are just sort of like a little side tech to help lock down a little bit. Cactus Bouncer is really good in this deck. It cannot be special summoned, but while a plant monster other than this card is face up on the field, neither player can special summon monsters. So there's actually a really good combo. If you open up with this, Jasmine, and Aroma Garden in your hand, you can normal summon Jasmine, activate Aroma Garden, your life points will be 8,500, so you get that extra normal summon Cactus Bouncer, and then you've locked your opponent out of special summons. And then if you happen to have Dried Winds or any of your other stuff on the field where you're going to be able to gain life points and destroy their monsters, you can prevent this from being destroyed up until you could put it in defense mode. Ideally, if you open up with Lone Fire, you could summon this in defense mode to begin with. It already has 1900, but with Aroma Garden it'll go up to 2400, which is pretty hard to get around when you can't special summon. The Evil Swarm we just put in here sort of to go with this. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you could special summon this card from your hand. So you can use this along with Cactus Bouncer to set up something. You can use it to make rank 4 plays. Because it's a plant, if you really need to, you could summon it with Lone Fire. And because it's level 4 with the level 1, you can also use it to make your Aroma Seraphie or your other level 5 Synchros if you want. The rest of the Synchros, by the way, just a toolbox. Play whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. We have all different levels. Not sure if I already mentioned that or not. Our final 2 cards are just a bit of protection. We're playing Heavy Storm Duster, just because you want to be able to stop things if they have like the Pendulum Magicians, if they have Dark Magicians, any kind of spell trap removal. We don't really want things in the graveyard, so I chose this one. And I'm trying Shutline, which is actually pretty fun. When a spell trap or monster effect is activated in the same column as this set card, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So it's free negation, but it only negates things in the same column. So it's a little bit limiting, but most of the time, if you set this in the center column, that's where your opponent's going to be activating most of their things. Or if you're worried about their extra deck monsters, you could just set this in front of the extra monster zone that you think they're going to use. Or if you already have one claimed, put it in front of theirs and you can negate all their effects. It's just a pretty nice tech card, but you could replace it with anything. The side deck, I actually have an alternate version of this deck that I call the Try-Hard Aromages. They're a little less fun, a little less tech-oriented, but they work a lot better, and they basically just run off a whole lot of draw power. What you're going to want to do is remove your Juraghettos, remove your Lone Fire Blossoms, remove the Mandrogas, replace them with Card of Demise and Pot of Duality. These will stop you from special summoning, but they'll let you go through your deck quicker. Hopefully between the two of these, you can every single turn get out your Aromage Jasmine, get out your Dried Winds, get out your Aroma Garden, and just be able to go from there. In addition, if you have extra slots, Draining Shield's pretty good. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can negate the attack and gain life points. So not only will it activate all these things, but since you're getting rid of Juraghetto, this can be a good alternative. You can draw it with Card of Demise and then set it. The other three cards are just sort of like tech options. Cosmic Cyclone, that's pretty much for the next 6 months, I would say, side this into everything. Because, again, Pendulum Magicians, to a lesser extent, Spirals, Dark Magicians, they all run on face-up spell traps that are going to cause you problems. And the only way to counter it, really, is to just have as much spell trap removal as possible. So if you have your Heavy Storm Duster on top of Cosmic Cyclones, you're hopefully going to be able to deal with that. We've also got Aroma Jar, which is actually part of the archetype. You can search it with Dried Winds. Can't be destroyed by battle. If it's flipped face up, during each player's end phase, you can gain 500 life points. Pretty good stall card, especially if your opponent's not playing a bunch of removal. If they're doing Go Keys, where they have a lot of attack, this could actually be pretty difficult for them to get rid of. And of course, the Kanaga, because you're sending spell traps back to your opponent's hand, this can be good against certain decks. In particular, again, Dark Magicians, if they have an Eternal Soul, you can send that back to their hand, and it'll trigger its effect to destroy all the face-up cards on the field. Pretty nice. So there's your deck for this week. Not the most competitive thing, not really all that good at all, really. But I really like the Aromages. I like their archetyping, the way they work. I'm hoping they get some more support eventually. They were fun to play. Next week, I'll be looking at a Patreon request for a archetype that's kind of cybery and kind of darkish. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Until next time, good luck and have fun.